So our next speaker has been with us. Hello, Jonathan. I was looking around for you. Has been with us many times. And he's always brings something new and exciting to this conference. And I know I'm looking forward to hearing you. Jonathan Dale is Director of Marketing at IBM, and he's going to be talking about the transformation power of smartphones and AI.
Thank you very much. All right, thanks a lot. All right, mic on. Can you hear me? Sound good? All right. Well, this is interesting. You set me up for I better deliver now. But it is interesting, right? So we're talking about transformation. And leading up to this event, I'll be honest with you, I thought, well, what do we do? What do I want to talk about in front of this group? And I thought, well, we're going to cover digital transformation, right? Tony did a great job covering digital transformation or business transformation. And it's at such a high level, right? And it's what you're talking to your CEOs about. Well, I assume you are. But what are you talking to your staff about, right? It may not be about digital transformation, right? It might be about the technology, the services used to achieve that. And so I set off on a mission to think differently a little bit and say, what can I bring to the table at this event to maybe share something new with you or to explore something maybe a little difficult? So I challenged myself. And what I came up with is this. I came up with transformational power of smartphones and AI. Right now, you may think, wait a second, smartphones have been around since 2007, right? We have management solutions in place. We're well past that, right? The transformation of smartphones has already happened, right? And AI could be a little different for you, right? For AI, you may say, I have no clue how it's actually going to relate to our day-to-day operations of security and operations. Right, enabling users, right, in the mobile sense. And so I'm going to spend the next few minutes trying to piece this together for you. Okay, and so for the smartphone side, we're going to talk about 3 different areas that's merging together that's affecting you and your staff. And for AI, I'll try to give you some concrete examples that you can actually get excited about, right, in your own environment and think, wow, I could see how we can leverage this and make a difference for that bigger transformation, right? Digital transformation. All right, so let's start with Steve Jobs. Let's start with the iPhone, right? So, what did it do for us? It did a lot for us, right? It changed the whole game. And this is why it may feel old, because we've talked about it for years and years, right? But let's go one step deeper. It's not all roses, right? So wouldn't be a keynote without some statistics, right? So this is a failing grade, by the way. 46%, right, of users aren't really satisfied with their mobile experience or what, the company's support for mobile is. I think that's terrible, right? How many people here are responsible for this number in your organization? Show of hands. There's 10 people who own mobile at a mobile event? Oh my gosh, I put together the wrong slides. No, really, this is a failing grade for us, but the question is why, and maybe we'll get into it, maybe we won't, but it's something to think about. Okay, so back to smartphones and tablets, right? This is the mobile experience. This is what we came to love, right? IT doesn't like it in the sense of the consumerization of IT was ushered in by smartphones and tablets, right? You lost control. You regained control with some management, but anyone here blocking iOS updates today? Or when the new iOS update comes out, right, 11, you already have it. Users already have it, right? It's happening. And this is okay. How about apps, right? We're not controlling how users get apps anymore. Maybe some corporate devices we are, right? You can do some blacklisting, whitelisting. But in general, you're letting those things usher in, and that's what end users love. They love that experience, right? So I again thought about this on the airplane here, and I said, what if someone told me I could no longer have my iPad? What would I do? Right? What would I do personally? I wouldn't do anything. I would stop watching movies, actually. I'd lose interest in my Amazon Prime series that I'm engaged with. Wasn't me, I didn't do it. But I'd lose interest in a lot of movies and TV shows is what would happen to me. Right? That's me personally, right? So the use case that I use a tablet for is literally personal use only, almost nothing for business. But my smartphone's a totally different story, right? I couldn't live without it in a sense. Right now in your environment, There's so many use cases that if you took an iPad away from a certain worker or from the manufacturing floor, that would be a problem, right? Because we're relying on these devices now. We're relying on the use case that they're enabled for and the experience that comes along with that use case, right? And that's really what the excitement was in your environment. It was the experience of delivering to new use cases around mobile and employees. And I think that's very key to think about, right? That experience of how you engage with the technology itself and the use cases you're solving. But what about this experience, right? The laptop experience, the desktop experience, right? You could not take that away from me, right? The iPad didn't replace it for my use cases. Did anyone, by the way, replace laptops with tablets in their environment? No. One person raised their hand. That's good. Maybe one or two. Was it for a specific use case or across the board? Specific use case, of course, right? And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. We've adopted this. We've found new ways to work it. But there's no way you're taking the desktop experience away from us. But what we're starting to expect, right, out of IT is to get these experiences merged together, right? Bring these absolutely together. So we've got a unique experience across all of our devices. And the one thing I'll say it's driving this that I see with a lot of organizations is what the users expect and what you've already delivered. For example, Office 365, right? Word, Excel, PowerPoint, getting access to that across all of your devices, right? That's now becoming a very seamless experience no matter what you're doing, right? How about downloading an app or going to a single place for an app store, right? You can now have a unified app store across whatever operating system you have, across any of your device types. You send users to one unique app store. Again, that experience is now, it's becoming merged, right? What used to only be a form factor for smartphones and tablets, now a form factor across all devices. How about laptops with touch? I was on the airplane last week. Some gentleman in front of me is touching his laptop screen, right? Adjusting a diagram. That's cool stuff, right? You expect touch now, that unique experience on your laptop as well, right? You want that. So these experiences are merging together. That's one. But that's not it, right? There's also a merging of technology on how you manage these devices as well, or how you manage the technology, right? So if we look at traditional approach to management, right, to managing devices themselves, right, you have a heavy approach, right? All the legacy Windows systems, you're putting a fat client on that device and you're managing it and you're taking it over. You're pretty much controlling the entire device, right? And then the opposite was true with mobile form factors, right? You were taking a very light API-based approach on that device for the most part, right? And then you have the middle ground of technology, which is being able to manage these operating systems in both a heavy approach and a lighter approach, right? And as this is happening, you can now see how, from a vendor perspective, we can enable you to manage these devices in one platform instead of several that you have today. Right? Does anyone want to volunteer? Anyone have more than 4, or do they have at least 4 management systems to manage devices and apps? 4? Anyone have 4? 3? You have to have 3. Thank you. We've got a few. Most companies we work with, they have 2 to 3 systems to manage laptops, smartphones, tablets, distribute applications, enforce security and compliance requirements, right? You're used to having multiple systems as well. But your world is getting merged together from a technology perspective. It's enabling us to do things differently. So that's the second shift. And we're still at the second shift, actually. I'm going to build upon a pyramid. When you look at the world today that you live in, you look at a device-centric world first, right? And you're not ignoring now IoT devices, wearables, okay? So you have your smartphones, tablets, laptops, wearables, IoT devices, right? IoT? Anyone doing it? Fooling around with it? I'm curious, do you have a special group set up to explore IoT today? Okay. All right. Okay, excellent, thank you. All right, so you have the devices. You have apps and content, right? So it was MDM at first that managed your devices. It was apps and content managed by mobile application management, mobile content management, right? And then you have the latest, which brought us up to what the world is calling unified endpoint management, which is including people and identity as part of this, right? Literally identity solutions baked into a management platform. And so in this pyramid, the way you can start managing this consolidated technology, right? Your devices, your people, your identity, apps, and content is by a unified endpoint management solution. And analyst firms are starting to call it just that this year and into next year. Traditionally, it was just called MDM or EMM, Enterprise Mobility Management. Right? So the third shift is your responsibilities. And this likely is the one that's lagging in most of your environments. And it's how the experience from end user expectation technology, the experience of being able to merge the technology together to manage it on a single platform is affecting your organization and your staffing. So I like to just point to the phases. And if we go fast through these phases, what we're looking at is when you were first managing devices, right, you were doing it through your BlackBerry admin or your mail administrator. And then you created a special team, right, to manage mobile. Well, we've got a mobile team now. The mobile team will handle all of that. Then mobile teams started getting merged in with the general IT support folks in many organizations, not across the board, many organizations, right? But what happened? Mobile is now kind of ubiquitous in everything you do, right? So it doesn't need a special group anymore. It's merged in with the rest of your support team, right, and the rest of your group. Or it could be. When you think about it, it could be. Maybe it's not yet. And so the question I raise to you, as we talk about how the smartphone was transformational, it's this last piece here, right? Who is going to own the technology going forward? Are you patching laptops with an end-user computing group? Who is patching and dealing with the issues around smartphone and tablets? Is it now the same group, or is it still a separate group? I would challenge it should be the same group who owns it all. Right? And you should be able to merge teams at this point, right? I think this is the big stage that's a question for all of us. And then I mentioned IoT for a reason. Where does it fit into these phases, right, of your shifting organization? Are you going to create, just like in the mobile world, a specific IoT team? And then at which point, if you do, which is fine if you do, at which point do you merge it back into the main flow in the process? Right, so this will affect you if it's not already, or it's a spot where you can gain efficiencies when you think long term. I've got the technology, I can consolidate vendors, I can have cost savings, and I can also consolidate staffing and put them to work in other key places of your business, probably more towards back to the business transformation. Okay, so let's shift gears. Let's talk about AI for a second, right? So this was 2011, I believe, 2010, 2011, where IBM Watson was on Jeopardy and won Jeopardy. But what I find is the promise of AI and cognitive technology is not well understood by most folks, right? Now, if you're in healthcare and you're trying to have cancer diagnosis, most people can understand how AI comes into it, or at least IBM has marketed it that way. Right? But if you're an IT individual, how is it helping you? More specifically, in today's conversation, in mobile, how is it helping you, right? And so we're going to have fun with this. And so let's look at a scenario. Before I even do this scenario, I want to go back a little bit, and we'll make AI kind of like a map, right? Or planning a trip. Or you're going to plan a trip. You're going to go on vacation, right? You're driving. You're not flying. You're driving there, right? Who today, raise your hand, who's going to plan it via a paper-based map? We're literally going to get the map out on the table. We've got one. That's good. We always have a few, right? We're going to get the map out on the table, and we're going to start like, here we go. This is the route we're taking, right? We wouldn't do that, right? It just doesn't feel right. It's very inefficient, right? So that's what AI is bringing to the management of mobile and IT, right? It's bringing the ability to do it a smarter way, right? So as you're going and there's a traffic jam or an accident, it can reroute you, right? So think of it that way. Think of AI is bringing that type of technology. It's equivalent to using, your phone mapping with GPS versus a paper-based map. I think you'll see it here. So let's meet Taylor and Greg. Okay, Taylor's a smart one here. Greg, not so much. Okay, why? Well, because Taylor has an AI cognitive solution. And what they're going to do is we're going to walk through a mobile threat. right? So zero-day malware gets released. What happens? Zero-day malware gets released. It affects, let's just say, Android, a specific version of Android, not picking on them, but right, what does Greg do? Greg is probably on your team today, and he goes, and first of all, he has to listen and discover for himself what type of threat is out there, what type of vulnerability is out there. He may hear it through the grapevine, he may hear it through a peer, he may read it on a news source, he may see it in a Google feed, right? But he has to discover that first. Once he discovers it, he's got to think to himself, okay, I need to get educated on this threat. And by the way, all of this takes time, right? I need to get educated on the threat. Now that I'm educated, I need to look in my own environment and find out how does it affect us? Does it affect our users, our devices, our apps? Does it? And now if it does, now I need to figure out the plan and what to do about it, right? And then I need to implement those changes. And so the great thing about Taylor, in her day, she has a cognitive solution. She simply shows up to work. She happens to log into her unified endpoint management platform, and voila, a threat was self-discovered. This wasn't a threat self-discovered in her environment. This was a threat self-discovered by looking at news sources, news feeds, different things in the environment, right? And so the AI solution recognized that there is something going on in the wild that could be relevant to Taylor. So what does it do? It puts together the information, essentially giving her the information to say what it is, right? What it does. Does it affect her or not? It does. It affects 19 of her devices. What should she do about it? It tells her what she should do about it. So in about 2 to 3 minutes, Taylor has understood this vulnerability completely and has the best practice on what to do with the 19 devices that affect her environment. Right? The difference was Greg spending half of his day trying to figure that out. To me, that's a real-world scenario. Right? That makes a difference in your IT operations. And that's only one aspect of where AI and cognitive solutions will help you on your daily role. This was an example. This is actually a true example here with WannaCry. Now, before anyone gets too wrapped up, I understand that WannaCry really did not hit anyone in the Canada market, right? So I do know that. But it doesn't take away from this great example because it did impact so many companies. And it made them worry, and it made them go research and learn and understand. So this is literally what we provided our customers, right? This is a cognitive insight delivered through MAS 360 and Watson. It says, hey, there's WannaCry out there. Potentially impact your Windows devices and servers. There's additional details, and there's the recommendations on what to do about it. Now, WannaCry was a very complex thing to discover in someone's environment. We offer, and AI offers the ability to go around risks, vulnerabilities, to provide you areas where it's just education, right? Hey, you should know this. Did you know? Areas where you can discover opportunities. So, should you enroll in Apple's DEP program? I don't know. But Watson will tell you that you're not, and that you could save money and time if you do it, right? Do you have someone on your staff looking at that? Do you have someone on your team looking about all the opportunities in your environment of where you could save money, save time, gain efficiency? I don't know the answer to that question, but I could tell you. You have a cognitive advisor feeding you that information, helping you prioritize which vulnerabilities you may want to target. That's an impact, right? That's a positive impact. And that's where the world of AI and cognitive, are delivering today. All those examples I gave you, it's delivering today, not in the future. But here's some fun future ones, right? Natural language processing. We like to talk to our remote controls sometimes, right? At least in the US, I know. You could, hey, put on the baseball game, go Astros, by the way. Put on the baseball game, Comcast remote pops it right up on your screen, right? Anyone have kids? They're constantly talking to Alexa or Siri or any home assistant that you have, right? I don't personally find it natural to speak to these assistants, but my children, 10 and 7, they don't Google search. Their version of a Google search is talking, right, to an assistant. That is the way the future is going related to that. And so the expectation of a generation is to speak and get answers back. And so we're doing the same thing with AI and cognitive. So an administrator can speak directly to MAS 360 and get an answer back. right? And you can speak in natural language. Hey, could you show me all of my Windows 10 devices, as the example on the screen shows? It understands your speech, translates it, puts up the query, runs it, and displays results for you, right? Do I have any iOS devices with known vulnerabilities? There's your list of devices with your known vulnerabilities for you to target. Very easy stuff, right? It's interesting, too. Here's another one. Cognitive policy management. What do we mean there? We don't assume, and AI and cognitive doesn't assume that your team are the experts, the end-all, be-all, and that you should rely on them for every decision you make. What we find is our clients want best practices. They want us to help advise them and tell them where we see in their policy, in their rule sets, and in their configurations, areas for improvement. That's, again, where AI and cognitive come in, right? Able to analyze your environment across community benchmarking, other analytics, and say, hey, if you're implementing this passcode policy, you know, I forget what this is, 60% of the customers in your industry have a passcode policy. 81% of customers within your industry leverage VPN profiles. Right? This is just one basic example. Right? But if you have a new administrator just joined, you could say, hey, you're going to manage our smartphone, tablet, and laptop environment. Make sure we're up to snuff. And as they're interacting with the platform of choice, you get cognitive and AI examples, right, and statistics to help guide you make those right decisions. We think it's an area of interest. It's certainly something our customers have asked for. This is a fun one, AI. We're talking AI, right? How it's transforming, right? How it's transforming our work, our jobs, end users. This is an AI chatbot. Not so much for IT, although IT can leverage this. This is for the end user. This sits literally right on their phone. The example we put up for you today is, you know, what would be common. Hey, in natural language, the user talking to the chatbot saying, hey, I'm not getting mail notifications. And the chatbot being able to analyze the endpoint and the policies and local to the device to say, oh, you don't have them turned on. That's why you're not getting them. Right? Do you want to turn them on? Yes. OK, poof, turned on. Right? This makes a difference because this stops calls to the help desk and the support desk. And that failing number of 46% goes way up, right? Because you're providing that better experience and leveraging AI for it. OK, I'll keep moving here. This is where it gets fun. I think this is where AI and cognitive get fun. The examples I showed you so far are fairly basic in nature, but hopefully you see how they can impact your daily operations for efficiency. But this is great, right? So what if, from a cognitive perspective, we take a look at all, you're in retail. It's Black Friday's coming up, big time season, right? Well, AI analyzes all of your kiosk devices and realizes, based upon the date, the rollout, what's going on with them, that 125 of your kiosk tablets have an increased risk for failure during that Black Friday week. Wouldn't you want to proactively do something about that? I would think so. And I guarantee you don't have staff on your team today that's proactively going out and doing these hardware checks. Right? It's not happening. Guarantee it. Someone prove me wrong. Right? Even more fancy. Being able to correlate weather system data. Right? So a nor'easter's coming. If this was on the New York area. In Canada, I'm not sure what you call them. You call them nor'easters still? OK, thanks. Let's just say big storm's coming. Right? And you got a lot of workers who are going to work from home. Wouldn't you like to know that in advance, week in advance, and have something automatically show you where your workers are probably likely not to get connected that week? So you can proactively go out, make sure the VPN certificates are up to date, make sure the passwords aren't expiring. Right? Again, this is the IT being able to take a very active role in reaching out to their user base, changing that experience. We think these are areas that are exciting, but also meaningful to the business. You know, a couple of the charts here. 63% of IT managers consider security management difficult or very difficult to perform. Right? And I believe that number is driven by the complex use cases in someone's environment. Because I bet most of the folks here already have an MDM solution in place, or an EMM solution in place, or a UEM solution in place. Whatever you want to call it, it means the same thing for the most part. Right? A system to manage smartphones, tablets, laptops, apps, data, users. You probably have it in place already. But so why is it difficult? It's probably difficult because you have so many use cases to balance, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all shop. It never has been in this world of mobile. It's never been one-size-fits-all, right? So you need a solution that's really flexible, right, and can handle all of those use cases. And then, empowering users, that would just happen to be a fun stat I thought, from an end user perspective, again, end users feel like it's still, too hard, right, to get access to applications. IT's still making it too hard. So how do we transition and wrap up here? Right? Earlier we talked about the transformation of kind of the end user, not the end user side, the device side. We talked about 3 different shifts that were happening, right? The shift that smartphones in laptops and the user experience coming together. We talked about the shift of the platform technology allowing you to manage devices, apps, data, users differently. And we talked about IT teams actually shifting staffing and resources to more align or better align with new ways to manage. You often hear the term end user computing group, right? Or just digital experience. So what we feel is if you're not getting on board cognitive, which by the way, statistics have it that by 2020, 80% of companies will be leveraging cognitive technology to manage mobile. That's only 2 years away. So in 2 years, 80% of the people in this room should be leveraging technology. That's what's expected. Cognitive technology around mobile. Right? So if you're not doing it today, it's a little scary. But we feel this is the right approach. Right? When you're looking at managing mobile and you're looking at, in the next year or two, to do unified endpoint management, right? The consolidation of your vendors, consolidation of your systems, right? To make sure you have this AI or cognitive approach on top. Because if not, it's going to be treated just like every other system has been today. You're going to have to keep throwing resources at it, and you're not going to manage it effectively. What's going to happen? You're going to have vulnerabilities you never patch. You're going to have issues you never deal with. Why? Right? It's because it's just like today. You have Windows patching, but all your laptops aren't patched. Right? We feel you need someone to help advise you. We feel you need someone that can help prioritize your workload. Show you not only where you need to address the most threatening vulnerabilities, but also where those opportunities are in your environment, right? What you should target first. And then on top of that, you don't always have to be the experts. You might not have them on your staff. Let some AI and cognitive come into how you manage these devices and help show you what the best practices are instead of searching for hours trying to figure them out. So from a MAS 360 perspective, right? MAS 360 helps companies manage smartphone, tablets, laptops. What we like to say is end users, endpoints, and everything in between. And that's what we do. We do it for thousands of companies, and we're really proud of it, and we're really good at it. And we're the only company in the world that has already, and this was launched in February, March of this year, already incorporated cognitive technology and AI into the management platform. We're continuing to do that, and we will continue to do that because we see it is the future of success for mobile. Right? It's not the success of just our product. It's what you need to be successful as you go down your mobile journey. Okay, so thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, we'll see you at the bar.